Hello friends, my name is Keisha, and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Canada and crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father, Dale Richardson, we started the CARES Project, an Indigenous survivor-led movement for humanity. We are dedicated to exposing human trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. The judicial branch is broken. It has failed to restrain the evils that have come upon this republic. Whether it's family court failures, weaponization of the judiciary, COVID-era harms, or human trafficking, the courts have allowed these issues to continue unchecked for too long. One of the most powerful tools we're using is the Petition for Redress of Grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in the founding principles of this country. On May 19, 2026, a formal petition for redress of grievances was submitted to the United States Congress. This petition is demanding that Congress and the President use the powers under Article 4, Section 4 to preserve this Republican form of government by restraining these abuses pending congressional investigation. Through the CARES Project Action Plan, we are mobilizing people across the United States to strengthen this effort. This petition has been created as a template. If you or someone you love have been hurt by these same systemic failures in the courts or by government institutions, your evidence matters. When you come forward, please bring your evidence along with a copy of the Petition for Redress of Grievances. This helps connect your story to this growing constitutional record being placed before Congress. We are asking you to stand with us. Join the CARES Project Action Plan and help us build a precedent that demands accountability and protects the God-given rights of American families. Our united voices will compel Congress to uphold the Constitution and safeguard our liberties. United we stand, one nation under God. I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to the CARES Project podcast. Today we have with us Sheriff Richard Mack, who is the leader of the Constitutional Sheriffs Association and so of America, and has come back and done a new book called, what, if you remind us, yes, you want to talk just a little bit about your book, sorry. I'm just off it this morning. It's Monday, how can I tell? Welcome back to the show. You want to introduce yourselves again to our audience, please?
Well, thanks. I remember that monologue by your daughter, and she's wonderful, and her message is powerful and wonderful, and that's actually part of the reason, if not most of the reason, why we wrote this book. So, yes, my calling card issue is that when I was sheriff in Southeast Arizona back in the 90s, I became the first sheriff in American history to sue the federal government. Folks, that's no small task. How many sheriffs in the history of our country have ever sued the federal government, take it all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and win against the Clinton administration? Well, it's only happened one time in 250 years. And 6 other sheriffs joined me in this lawsuit. But I started the whole thing. And I'm so grateful that 6 other sheriffs joined me. It should have been thousands. There's 3,076 sheriffs or 86 sheriffs in America, and only 7 of them did this. And I found that very disappointing. At the same time, I was thrilled and so grateful to God Almighty that these other brave sheriffs joined me because it was a real battle against the Clintons, and they went after us and they attacked us, and I actually lost my third election because of this fight. I moved to Utah and ran for Utah County Sheriff. And then, while I was running for sheriff, just 3 days before the election, the IRS and the FBI raided my office, had nothing to do with me. It was a client of mine. They put my name on his search warrant, and he ended up going to jail later on, but it had nothing to do with me. And they had the huge headline in the only newspaper in the entire county, the Provo Daily Herald, and it said, Mack raided by the FBI. I've never seen such a big headline, except for the headline about World War II ends. This was huge. It was all across the front page, as big as you could get it, of the newspaper. And I was ahead before that. I had already won the Republican County Convention 2-1 over my opponent. And then, so here comes the federal government. Here comes the Clinton administration hit squad from the FBI and IRS. After I lost, 3 days later, I never heard from them again, ever, except that they sent me back a box of papers that they took they had to act like they took something. They sent those back to me in the mail. I never heard from them again. If it was so important that they put that out 3 days before the election, you'd think they would have had a case, but they didn't.
No.
And the only thing of it is, I should have sued them, but I didn't. I just didn't have any more fight left right then. I just wanted to move on with my life. But these guys are a bunch of crooks. They've done it to Trump, and they've done it to me.
Well, the process is the punishment, and actually, this is kind of what we were outlining in the petition that was submitted to Representative Anna Paulina Luna on May 19th. Is that the lawfare is out of control. The lawfare is out of control because there are judges that are not upholding the Constitution.
They're part of it. Yeah, they're part of it.
All of these activist judges that are being paid by Soros and God knows who else to go ahead and betray the people. This is why this is happening. And it's happening pretty much every person has had an issue with either the family court, the immigration court, the criminal court, the civil court. It's not functioning in the way that it's designed because there's too much corruption. And
right.
When you have corruption like this, what are you supposed to have? You're supposed to have law enforcement. But this is failing.
Well,
right?
Well, that's the exact reason why we formed the constitutional sheriff movement back in the early 2000s. And then we made an organization, a bona fide organization out of it in 2011. But I've been doing this since I won my lawsuit. And so that was way back to 1997. And so I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and maybe a little bit before that, while I still was sheriff. And so your daughter's right, and you are right. I actually think that a lot of those judges are just activist judges being loyal to the Democrat Party. And yeah, there's some of them that have been paid off. But yes. I think most of it just comes from the demagoguery of the Democrat Party. And these judges who are Democrats are going to remain loyal to the Democrat Party instead of our country. And that's what's going on. And that's what we talk about in this book.
And when people say Democrat, I grew up, I'm Gen X. So I remember I grew up in the 70s, but I remember hearing about Kennedy and so forth. When I think of Democrat, that's what I think about. But what I see now is nothing like it. Like the politics today, what they call a Democrat now is pretty much a communist, right? As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're socialists and communists, and most of the movement right now, with the extremist leftists who are being elected by the Democrats, they're communists, and they want a communist takeover of our country. And the crazy thing, if they would just read the Constitution or keep their oath of office, for God's sakes, they would see that the Constitution is completely the antithesis of socialism and communism. We're supposed to be free. Communism is not freedom.
No.
Communism is not equality. Communism is dictatorships and forced equality by the government with a gun.
Yes,
And
and
that will never be freedom or equality or peace and safety. Look at all the countries that have ever promoted socialism and communism. Hitler was a devout socialist.
yes,
And then look at Mussolini and Stalin and Lenin and Pol Pot and Mao Zedong and the current CCP in China. And human rights are completely ignored or fought against with these countries. And there's many more.
Look at what's happening here in Canada. They're putting down a roll of bills now to shut down our free speech and everything else like this. They're taking the weapons from people. We're essentially a vassal state of the CCP, and people have to understand. You need to see what's happening, because what's happening here is what they want for America, right? And you don't want any of this.
Yeah.
You don't.
I'm afraid it is, and our fear of what's happening when we look around. In fact, can you ever look at C-SPAN or look at any of the television coverage, the news coverage of any time that there's a congressional hearing? All it is fighting between the Democrats and Republicans. Nothing ever happens. And the Democrats are so far left in any of their opinions. It's absolutely sickening that we still have people saying that they believe in our Constitution from the Democrat side. They're absolutely a joke. They don't believe in it, and they think that breaking their oath, they even AOC and Kamala Harris swore oaths of allegiance to the Constitution. How many of them actually give one damn about the Constitution whatsoever? How about the Second Amendment? Do any of them care about the Second Amendment and what it stands for? We know Canada doesn't, but now we're following step. We actually believe that they actually believe if they take guns away from law-abiding citizens, that it'll make our country safer. And that's the insanity of just a tiny part of what they're doing. And speaking of insanity, we have a chapter that does a list of the insanity from the Democrat Party. And the only problem is almost every day we want to add something else to the list.
Every instance in human history, whenever they've disarmed the people, tyranny has happened 100% of the time without fail. So any person who sits down and says they're disarming people, the law-abiding citizens, for the betterment of the people, they're lying. You're lying. The best defense against tyranny is an armed population.
Of course. Yeah. And that's what the founding fathers said. And that's what the Second Amendment says. A well-regulated militia being necessary for what? The security of a free state. How does gun ownership do that? Oh, well, that's for the army. That's for the militia. The militia never was the army. The militia is we the people. Look at Article 1, Section 8. It says the federal government can call out the militia, and it also says that they can establish an army and a navy. Well, militia is not the army and navy. Militia, if you look up the definition, is we the people. That's it.
That's always been the definition of the militia. You always had a standing army, and you had a militia that if your armed forces was depleted or you needed extra people, you would call from the people. They're literally like the reserves of the reserves, because if you don't have enough people, then the militia is going to stand there and help defend your country, right?
Well, of course. And if you look at Washington, how he utilized the militia during the Revolutionary War, you'll find out that these people could come and go. The people in the militia could come and go. Or he tried to get them to where they became Continental Army soldiers, and that's different. They graduated to that. But in the meantime, the militias could come and go as they pleased. They were not regular army. And that's actually in the movie of Mel Gibson of The Patriot. It shows it in there. They're not regular army. They can come and go as they please, but as long as you're here, you're going to do what you're told. And so this, Mel Gibson has done really well in two different movies about freedom and really what the militia is. And so we love all of this. We love the Constitution. We adhere to it. And I would tell every Democrat, how is it that you think it's okay that you promulgate legislation against the Second Amendment, yet you swore an oath of allegiance to the Constitution? How do you do that? Because that's actually a criminal act. You're violating your oath, and you're doing exactly what the Constitution expressly forbids.
Well,
Yeah.
yes. And this is kind of like the issue that was raised in what the petition that me and my daughter and so forth, and 23 people signed onto it. And they all had their issues, whether it's the weaponization of the government, but the buck all stopped down at the judicial system. The judicial system is supposed to be for the average person, like you went and did, and went to restrain the government, and that's what it's for. But when that breaks down, then what happens? And this is why this is why that whole section of Article 4, Section 4 is there, the guarantee clause, because you're guaranteed a Republican form of government.
I quote that one. I quote that one all the time, Dale.
It's necessary, because when a time where people have to realize, when was this used? The Civil Rights Movement. When they were doing segregation and the states wouldn't comply, they sent the National Guard in to go in and make sure that they uphold the Constitution, because the states don't have a right to violate the Constitution. And this is what we're seeing. Nobody has a right to do that. And they can use emergency powers under that aspect. This is why they said that we demand that, because of the harms that are happening. And it's a systemic problem. And we need people, the law enforcement, to step up, because they need to arrest the people that are wrongdoers. That's really it.
I've been pushing sheriffs and law enforcement nationwide to do just that. And boy, I tell you, I get a lot of pushback. And why? Why? Because I think I make an easy question for everybody, though. Really, come on, Dale. I make this pretty simple. In every one of my presentations, I quote Martin Luther King, and I can paraphrase that one really quickly. He said, "We all have a moral obligation to obey just laws." Conversely, he said, "We all have a moral responsibility and a legal responsibility to disobey unjust laws." I'll take that just a step further, and it's a small step, to say this to all law enforcement, especially you sheriffs who are elected by, for, and of the people, who report only to them. That's right, folks. Your sheriff's only boss and supervisor is you. He doesn't report to anybody else. So I want to ask every sheriff and peace officer in this country, if you were called back into time, December 1st, 1955, no, that's not Pearl Harbor. December 1st, 1955 was Rosa Parks in Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery, Alabama. And she refused to give her seat to a white man. So what did they do? They arrested her. An American citizen arrested for not giving her seat to a white man. That's how stupid we've been. And we really haven't wised up that much. Now we do it to gun owners, and now we do it to Amish farmers who won't pasteurize their milk, and just about anybody else we can. And they do it to parents who want to go to school board meetings and find out why the school boards are messing with their children without parental supervision and permission. And so what's the answer, Sheriff? What's the answer, Mr. Officer, Ms. Officer? Would you have arrested Rosa Parks if you were called to that incident when she refused? Would you have been one of the deputies or peace officers who actually arrested her? What a shame that an officer who wears a badge and swore an oath of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States doesn't know what that means and actually arrests an American citizen for not giving her seat to a white man. Come on, let's wake up and look at the principles of freedom that we swore to uphold and defend. And then how about let's do just that. And
Yeah.
that's what we're about.
Yes, because speaking of this, there was one of the women that was served this petition because we're getting people to serve it to the local congressman. So they were in Fargo, North Dakota, and they couldn't get in, so they took it to the sheriff to serve it. And
Oh, good.
the sheriff actually they tried to refer it to the congressional office tried to refer it to the legal department in Washington. And so we talked to the sheriff, and I was like, no, this is not a legal question. It's a political one. And I'm like, even a string of Supreme Court decisions demonstrate this. And I said, anybody can take it. It's not like a court document. It's to go to Congress. And so he was really interested, and he was like, okay. And he asked me about what it was. I said, I looked up the petition for redress of grievances at the time the Constitution was written and what it meant, and what they're doing now. They don't do that. And I said, so just take it to them. And now we're going to have to go back and kind of instruct people to do it. Because even I was talking to a congressman's chief of staff, and they did not know what to do with it. And this tells you there's a big problem in the way things are done now. Over time, they've just kind of moved away things that were important. And this is happening everywhere. But this is like, people recite this. You have the First Amendment right to petition for redress of grievances. You don't even understand what that means anymore. And it's like,
well, yeah, redress means they have to answer.
Yes.
They have to respond, but they never do.
But this is where the people have to sit down and say, no, you're not doing that. And like, we don't have to be violent, we be peaceful and lawful, but we have to be persistent. Like, I mean, they need to dread coming to work because someone's going to be in their face saying, you're going to need to do your job or get out. And somebody's going to crack and going to give in, because we can't let them take away the country. What's the alternative? Civil war. And then what happens? Then China comes in and cleans up the mess. Sorry, I don't want that.
No.
Right?
We had a Revolutionary War. We had a Civil War. We were supposed to have settled all of this in those two wars that were just horrible for America in a lot of ways, especially the Civil War. How horrible was that for everyone? But the thing of it is, I admired what the Founding Fathers did. They tried for decades to get England and Parliament and the King George III, to be fair and honest with them and leave them alone. Let them run their own lives. For heaven's sakes, you're 3,000 miles away. But they didn't care. We own you. We own your land. We own you. And they continued to oppress the American colonists. And so finally, that was driven to violence. And, I'm against violence, but I can't argue with what the Founding Fathers did. They did the right thing. And I hope and pray that we don't have to have any repetition of violence in America. There still are peaceful and effective solutions. And you and your daughter are doing one. And Daniel Perkins and I are doing one with this book. Now, folks, and in fact, the website, if you can pull it up, if you want to pull it up, Dale, it's murderofamerica.com. And that'll show everybody the cover of the book, which is extremely bold. And obviously the title is extremely bold, but the cover is actually bolder, and it's I don't know if it's bolder or more bold, but either one, it's way courageous and in your face, and it's offensive. We say it right in the beginning of the book, in the introduction of the book. We make that very clear. This book may offend some of you. Oh, no, not some of you. Many of you. That may be necessary. We hope the truth herein will awaken all of you, Democrats, Republicans, and all Americans, to our awful and catastrophic situation. We are destroying ourselves from within. We are destroying America from within. We are destroying the American dream from within. And who's the biggest culprit? Who is culpable of this? Democrats, you are. Your party leadership is even worse. We believe that there's a lot of good Democrats, They've been hoodwinked and they've been brainwashed. And folks, it's time to wake up. And that's what this book is. We hope that you will look at the cover. Okay, look. The Democrat Murder of America. And look at what that jackass is doing. The jackass has a big knife in his hoof, stabbing the Statue of Liberty in the back. He's killing her. And Lincoln warned us that we would, at one point in America, destroy ourselves. That if we ever lost our freedoms and lost our way, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Folks, we can reverse this, and we can revive America, and we can put America back where she's supposed to be as a constitutional republic. But we're going to have to do it together, and we're going to all have to wake up, and especially the Democrats who are fighting to destroy our country. Case in point, 30 million illegal aliens brought into our country. For what? For election fraud. And Democrats, don't say no to that. You've already admitted, your party has already admitted that's why they've done it. Every single one of them, ask any Democrat, every single one of them say, yes, they should be on Social Security. Yes, they should be on welfare. Yes, they should be on Medicare. And yes, they should all be, what? Registered to vote. And that you can't stop them. Dale, they already said.
Yes.
You can't stop them. They don't have to show ID to register, and they can register the very day of the election so that anyone can go in, whether you live here or not. You could be on vacation here from Argentina, and you can go register to vote and vote right then. You don't have to show no ID. You don't have to give a legitimate address. That's what the Democrats did all this for, folks. And it's about to cost us our country.
It is.
Our freedom.
And everybody who is against America will benefit from them, regardless of their party, because they have people on both sides. Because they got to this point because they would get people to abuse the immigrants that came here lawfully. This is how they did this. And people, if somebody comes there lawfully, you want them to get, they shouldn't be abused. Nobody should be abused, but they shouldn't be treated to like lose their citizenship or anything. If they're following the law and they came here, let them do that. That's fine. But when they started to abuse this, and people started to get angry, and then now they started to just shift the envelope and saying that they now spread it over to all of them. So we need to have, this is where we need to have law enforcement again, because at the end of the day, when things like this happen, people need to be arrested. If you don't have an enforcement for a law, then it's just a suggestion. And the Constitution is not a suggestion. It's a law. And until people start getting hauled out exactly and arrested for their crimes, whether it's the election fraud, whether it's they're trafficking people into the United States with all these illegal immigrants, or whether the weaponization of the judiciary, any of this, all of these people that are doing these things, they need to be arrested, right? When you have like these Soros-funded judges that are on the take, that are doing all of this madness, they need to go to jail. That's it.
But there's one other leg on the other side. That's like a double-edged sword. The other side of the sword is they need to be protecting the American people from all of that. The sheriff should stand and say, IRS, you're not going to abuse citizens anymore. And IRS, you're going to follow the law, the supreme law of the land. And monitoring people's financial privacy is against the law. And you're going to follow the law just like everybody else. FBI, you're going to follow the law. You're going to keep your oath. You're going to follow and enforce the Constitution. Because when you're in my county, the Constitution reigns supreme. Is that understood? And, when I was sheriff, I sent the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers packing. I kicked them out of my county because they threatened to arrest the county commissioners just for fixing a bridge after a flood. Not doing anything wrong. They're just putting the bridge back the way it was. And they said, we'll arrest you if you do that before we conduct our, get this, Dale, our environmental impact study. Oh, come on.
I mean, the bridge
The
was there
bridge,
before.
it was there for 75 years, So there's your environmental impact study. Now look at this chapter here, page 217. I'll get this to where, see if you can read that.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me pull this up here. The cuckoo's nest.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of the best movies that Jack Nicholson ever did. I think it was like 1970 or so.
Yes, I saw it when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And so One Flew, that one said FLEW. This one says FLU. Like the influenza.
Yes.
So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and of course that was COVID-19. So
Yes.
we have a chapter dedicated to COVID-19. And what did we just see on the news this morning? Fauci lied. Fauci destroyed federal papers, and Fauci was taking money, and Fauci was making sure that none of us really knew the truth about what he was doing and what his intention was.
Yes.
And far too much power was passed to that man. And turns out it was all a farce and a lie. You Democrats who sided with him and still do, you're on the wrong side. You're not on the side of America, and you're not on the side of the people. And this documents the truth about the COVID-19 fiasco, and that we shut down businesses, and we shut down schools, and we shut down our Constitution, and we shut down individual liberty. Folks, never, never again.
Yes.
And let me quote this. My Supreme Court case actually said, like Scalia was talking to us today about COVID-19. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. And then it says it protects us, quote, from the crisis of the day. The crisis of the day that they fabricate and create and manufacture, and then offer us the solution on a silver platter, which is always based on more giving up your rights.
What Scalia was there in principle was articulating what they talked about in the Federalist Papers about ambition checking ambition. So that's why you have the three branches of the government, and that's why one is supposed to counteract the other, so that if somebody gets a bright idea and decides that I'm going to go ahead and do this, the other two branches are like, no, that ain't going to happen. Right?
He quotes that too. He quotes Federalist 51, and he says, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. Folks,
yes.
The executive branch does not work for the judicial branch or the legislative branch.
No.
And judges want to act like they can order sheriffs around. Did you hear that Sheriff McMahill in Las Vegas just refused an order from a judge to release career prisoners back and inmates back out into society? And Sheriff McMahill, we're not doing that. We're not going along with you woke judges anymore.
Yes.
We're going to stand and protect the people. That's exactly what I'm talking about when I said sheriffs and law enforcement are here to protect us from other corrupt criminal government.
Yes.
Yay, way to go, Sheriff McMahill.
Yes, and we need more sheriffs like this, because when it came down for COVID and with what Fauci did, people don't realize the level of what he did. He was covering up so much, because people don't realize of what they were sending over from here in Canada over to Wuhan, and how they were doing. They were doing the Chinese scientists here was doing research that was funded by the DTRA and so forth, and other agencies in the United States, and sending pathogens from here unauthorized into the United States, as well as to Wuhan. And Fauci was like, don't look over there, because if they did, they'd be like, really? This is going on? So people need to go back and understand that your freedoms were taken away for no reason whatsoever. And in fact, they did a lot of wrong things that came from the CDC to go ahead, and every step along the way, they did something wrong. And now they need to be held accountable. They need to have...
And why did Fauci get a pardon from Biden?
Because he
Because he's one of the
benefited.
biggest crooks. He's one of the biggest crooks in the entire Biden administration. Yeah. I mean, so what was Biden doing? Biden said probably 15 times he would never give his son a pardon. Then he did. And maybe it was somebody else because they all had access to his auto pen, you know? So,
Well, and I mean, he probably didn't have access to his own mind at that point in time because
well, of course not.
half
No, he didn't.
the time he was confused. But I got to take a short commercial break and we'll come back and continue the conversation.
Perio, co-founder of Mark37.com. I spent my career in Silicon Valley working for high-tech infrastructure companies, and I've witnessed firsthand the surveillance apparatus they've built. Most of you already know we're in a digital war right now, but are you really aware that we're trying to fight this war with the weapons and tools of the enemy? That Android or iPhone in your pocket? That MacBook or Windows laptop? It's a tracking device feeding everything you say and do to companies that want you under their control or eliminated entirely. Every text, call, location, even how long you pause on a post, they track it all and use complex algorithms to then use this data to manipulate your behavior. If you knew someone hacked your devices and was selling your data without your consent, you'd be furious and terrified. So why are you okay with these companies doing this to you right now? Here's what they don't want you to know. There is another way. At Mark37.com, we offer phones, laptops, tablets, and even basic flip phones, all running systems big tech can't access unless you explicitly give them access. And what's even better is you also don't need to sacrifice productivity. I'm one of thousands of geeks mobilized across this country, building tools and providing education and support to help you live anonymously online before they enforce digital ID. Go to mark37.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute digital privacy consultation. Join hundreds of thousands who have decided to stop feeding their data to companies actively working to enslave us. Take back your communications. Take back your data. And may God bless you on your journey.
And yes, I got my ghost phone from there. So if you want to go to mark37.com, use the promo code Karis and get a 5% discount. Or if you want to support in other ways, you can go to mypillow.com/Karis and you'll get yourself some good products there, support a good cause. So kind of back to what we were saying here is that, I mean, we have to have accountability. We have to have the people that are there to do what's right, to fix these problems. Because all the problems that you're discussing in your book, who is the last line of defense to protect the people?
Well, I say first it's the people, but secondly, it's the sheriff.
Yes.
And especially when they're working together. And we actually have a program as part of the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, is for the people. And there's a branch of it where we have a posse, a militia, if you will. But it's a posse. And the sheriffs have always been able to create their own posses with the people. And so he has a Minuteman organization of we the people that are able to respond to him however he wants. And he can train them however he wants. And this is an extremely important facet of the sheriff's office. And of course, the Democrats want to oppose that. In fact, they're fighting the sheriffs on that in Washington state right now. And they're trying to get it to where all the sheriffs are appointed or that they don't even want sheriffs. And so the fight and the battle goes on, folks, and we are doing everything we can. So we want all of you to join us. Join the posse. Go to CSPOA.org, order the book right there, or order the book at murderofamerica.com, and then join the CSPOA posse at CSPOA.org. That's $11 a month. The book is cheaper. The book is only $26.76 out the door. That's with tax and shipping and handling. So, folks, we have tried this to make this as absolutely cheap as we can. There's an ebook that's only $14.92. Yes, we still love Columbus. And then there's an audiobook that I believe is $17.76. Again, we're really pushing $17.76, and the spirit of 76 in both of those, the paperback book, this one. And folks, this is all about you and your families, and that we restore freedom to our country once again, and that we really realize that we're a constitutional republic. There's a couple of chapters about how we're not supposed to protect democracy. We're supposed to protect us from democracy. We're not a democracy, okay? And the Democrats want to really push that we are. Why?
Because they want mob rule.
Of course, exactly. Boy, that didn't take you long. That's exactly the right answer, folks. And so right now, I'm looking at page 103, 102 and 103. This is one powerful chapter and historic event. Nikita Khrushchev, do you remember him? Nikita Khrushchev. Well, he was let's say what his position was, General Secretary of the Communist Party for the Soviet Union.
Yes.
He wasn't called the president or the prime minister or the king. He was called the General Secretary of the Communist Party. Now, as such, and he was that for about 10 years. And he was mean, he was ugly, he was fat, he was loud. He was always doing, and I was scared to death of him. I was just a 10 or 11, 12-year-old boy back then. Mm-hmm. And I always heard my parents talk about him, how afraid they were of him. And so, of course, I was afraid. And so, do you know what he did? He listened to his threats. This is him talking to America. You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright, but we will keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and you find yourself already in a communist country. He warned us, folks. They're going to make us and do this within. So he even says that. We do not have to invade the United States. We will bury you and we will invade you from within. And you will fall. Folks, now the Democrat Party is doing everything Nikita Khrushchev predicted for us. He said this would happen, and we're doing it, and it's happening from within, just like he said, and it's right on the lap of the Democrat Party. Wake up, America. Wake up, you Democrats, and see what you're doing. You're actually, read page 103 in The Democrat Murder of America. They are. Look it. They're doing it.
Yes.
100% the Democrats supporting what Khrushchev said would happen to us.
I actually want to go back to what you were saying on the appointment of the sheriffs, because this ties into what they're saying here. Because when you appoint the sheriff, then they become beholden to their will. Yes.
Sure you're not talking about the people not appointing him through the electoral process. They're talking about setting up a committee to appoint sheriffs.
That's where you're having now the legislative branch having control over the executive branch. And this is a grave constitutional issue where that needs to be stopped right away. This is an area where Article 4, Section 4 comes in. The federal government should be all over this and say, you ain't doing that. And if you're going to do that, I'll send in the National Guard. Because why? You cannot do that. You cannot usurp power from another branch. How do people think that this is even okay?
Well, the CSPOA has been there 3 or 4 times. We had a big national convention there on January 10th. And then we've had our people go back 2 or 3 times. I've been back 2 or 3 times. And we're working with the sheriffs and the Washington State Sheriff's Association. And we're working with other politicians and leaders that really see the danger of what's going on. So they already have appointed the sheriff in King County, which is the greater Seattle area. And she's a woke sheriff, and the people don't have any say in it. And now they're trying to do it throughout the entire state.
I
And
I
they're suing one sheriff because he wants to help with deportation.
I actually want the information on this. This is something that should be included. That information should be included in the petition what we submitted to Congress,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that is
True.
a dire need, and this is another justification for Article 4, Section 4. There
You
needs
can look
to
it up. It's all over. It's all over the internet. There's all sorts of articles about it.
they need to have a national emergency to fix this, literally, because at the end of the day, the corruption is so deep. There's not enough local law enforcement to deal with it, and there's not the political will, because the state governments are going against the people, and this has to stop. This is the only way that I can sit down and see this is going to get rectified. They have to have the federal government exercise those powers to deal with this, because we are in the greatest crisis. And if America goes down, so does the rest of the world. That's really it.
Correct. And if Washington goes down, that's going to lead the way to Oregon doing the same thing, California. Even California does not have any effort out there at all to appoint sheriffs or to remove sheriffs or get rid of sheriffs. And why? Because they know it's a very American and very entrenched position that the people are in charge of. The stewardship, as you just alluded to, having a bureaucracy appoint the sheriff and stealing that authority and power and stewardship from the people. Folks, there's one other way besides sitting in the feds. There's one other way. You wake up and stop this. And that's what we've been pushing. Folks, you people in Washington State, read the book. You Republicans that are listening to this, get the book to your favorite Democrat. Yes, and we all have Democrat friends and neighbors and sometimes family. We do. Ask them to have the humility and the sensitivity to be curious enough about this title and read it. Read the book. It's powerful. Folks, this is the solution to what you're seeing. The solution is there. It's clear. Save our country from the jackass killing Statue of Liberty.
I wanted to just make it clear. When I said to bring in the Fed, it's not just the people are going to have to be the ones to ask for this, because there's not, in some of the states, there's too much corruption that they're going to need that assistance from the federal government to make sure that they don't interfere in the lawful process.
And I'm afraid you're right. But we wanted to join with everyone who will wake up, and you know what? If this book takes off and everybody reads it, we can do this without it, without the troops, without any of it, because the American people are the ultimate say.
Yes.
But you're right. It looks like that's not working. JFK sent troops in to Montgomery, Alabama, to make sure what? That Governor Wallace did not segregate blacks and keep them from going to college at the University of Alabama.
Yes.
And the state of Alabama was trying to do that. And JFK peacefully corrected it, but he sent in troops to make sure it happened. All they had to do was show up. So I don't disagree with you there, because historically it has already happened. Trump has tried it, and they tried to kill him or try to get him out of office. And this is another big fear, folks. And Trump has expressed this fear. If we don't get moving this year, then Trump is probably going to be impeached for the third time. More insanity from the Democrat Party.
And I'll sit down and say this, and people have to understand, this has nothing, whether you like Trump or not, it doesn't matter. You have to understand what is being done. And This is the issue, because yes, I don't agree with everything Trump says. I don't agree with everything that anybody says. And that's not the issue. The issue is what is being done. And this, if they do this to him, how many other people are they going to do this to? And how are they going to disrespect? You have to have respect for the office of the president, whether you like the person or not. And this is what people have to understand. You have to respect the position. And now they're disrespecting the position, disrespecting the entire the law. So what do you have if you allow them to break the law for somebody? I don't care if you like them or not. If you break the law for your enemy, that means they can break the law for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. We've got to really turn this around. And folks, it's up to us. And let me talk about Dr. King for just a minute. In chapter, The Greatest Purveyor of Violence in the World, that's chapter 8. That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. 1 year before he was killed, to the very day, 1 year before he was assassinated, he gave a speech in a big church in New York City. Folks, there's no way around it. There's absolutely no way around this. This was Dr. King's best speech by far. And all his close friends, no, sorry, not in front of the Lincoln Memorial. When he gave this great speech of I Have a Dream, it was a great speech. This one, he accused the United States government of being the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. And he mentioned Vietnam. And so let me read this chapter, or I mean a paragraph, sorry. We, my author and me, or my co-author and me, we just talked about this speech, okay? But we're now saying how we believe Dr. King's statement about the soul of America being poisoned has proven to be prophetic. The increase in crime, drugs, human trafficking, murders, sexual exploitation of children, the lack of national security, and fabricated false flag wars are but collateral damage to those who have orchestrated the chaos with their primary goal as the ultimate destruction of our own country. End quote. Folks, this is what we're talking about in the book. This is our wake-up call. This is the clarion call to all of us. And I'm willing, and I believe you are too, Dale. I'm willing from the right, and you and I are pretty far right. I'm willing to meet the Democrats in the middle, and let's start talking about the things that we need to do to save our country. I'm willing to hold your hand. I'm willing to stand with you and raise our hands high as we protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we can just do those three things together, we're going to save our country this year.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, on that petition, we had Democrats, Independents, Republicans all sign it because at the end of the day, abuse is not a political thing, right? And I mean, when they're stealing people's children and all that kind of stuff, I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. You need to go to jail when you're doing that stuff. And nobody should be like getting freedom is not a political issue. It is a human right issue. So I will work with anybody who wants to preserve liberty. I don't care of your political persuasion. You just want to make sure that there's liberty. And the process has to be, it has to be secure. I don't care who wins as long as the process is right and they're working for the interests of the people. Because if the people decide that they want these people in, then fine. But they need to be working for the interests of the entire country, not for communism, right?
Well, it's true. And you and I really see eye to eye. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Your daughter gave a beautiful message. Second or third time I've heard her do it. She's wonderful. My son's going through some horrible things with government in Kentucky, and it's been going on for over 14 years. And he is so innocent, and prosecutors and judges and probation people and law enforcement. He actually sued one of the law enforcement agencies for false arrest because they just believed his ex-wife and did whatever she said, and it cost him tens of thousands of dollars. So she went to another agency, and she went and shopped other detectives, and she went and shopped other judges and prosecutors, and they keep following her along and doing what she says. And it's cost my son over $500,000. It ruined his life, and they've taken his children. The government of Kentucky have taken his children away just because of the made-up lies of his ex-wife. He has not been able to see them. My wife and I haven't seen him for over 12 years. He hasn't seen them now for over 4 or 5 years. And in court, they forced him to sign him away to his ex-wife. And he's had so many threats, and he just wonders where God is on this. He wonders where the American dream went, and he's still fighting. And he's filing another motion today before another judge. We pray for him, and we pray for everybody across the country that has this kind of lawfare against them.
You should put me in contact with him. I think we can help him.
Well, give me a call. I think you have my number on your end or my email.
Yes, I will do that.
I'm sure we would love to be part of that.
All right.
So yes,
I will. I know we're running up on time because I know you have another appointment here. So, how can people reach you, and how can they help you? Before I close down here,
the biggest thing you can help and join CSPOA at CSPOA.org, and you can buy the book there. But right now, for the pushing the book, CSPOA.org, or just go to Murder of America, one word, murderofamerica.com. So folks, one way or another, you've really got to help us push this book, share it with your friends and neighbors, buy one for your favorite Democrat, and let's save our country, our children and grandchildren, and get back to the constitutional republic we were supposed to be.
All right, I agree, and give them a follow and share this information because this is important. And thank you again for coming, and I'll close here with a prayer.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for allowing us to be in this situation where we are at this point in time so that we can work together for your honor and glory and help that the men and the women can come together to rebuild our families, our churches, our community, and our nations. And Lord, that we can have some protection for the children and to restore liberty in this world is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, my friend. Amen.